Hello.
So, we've been in an energy in 2020 where we have been changing on a cellular level. And all of us, regardless of knowing of conscious awareness to it, have been changing on a cellular level. And we are transforming throughout this whole year. We always do, but this is very intense and we have a lot of assistance. So, what does that mean, and how now do we connect more so into our core and peel away those layers that I always talk about as far as the humanness of who we are? Because as we are transforming on a cellular level, we're having more and more awareness to energy, to what's happening on a bigger picture, and also to ourselves in new light. So, most of this journey this year has been an internal one, and now, as the light and the energy is intense, and it's been leading up to this point right now where there has been more and more coming in. A lot of us have been having problems sleeping, or sleeping differently than we ever have before, sleeping a lot longer and heavier, or a lot lighter and waking up a lot more often. So, the dreams can be different. The way that we see our world while we're awake could be different. It's just that our perceptions are changing, and it's, as mentioned, not always a conscious, almost never a conscious thing. But as this happens, it creates awakenings for us, and each one of us on our individual path has had some this year, some realizations that um, have surrounded us from an individual standpoint. Of course, from an outer standpoint, there's some from the worldview where you could say, oh, I've had some there too, of course. And the last couple of years have been much more of an internal journey. We're now at a point where it's switching to be more of an collective journey. Okay, so many of us have been being prepared, doing the inner work, doing the shadow work, and that will continue. And maybe we've denied some of it, and if it's still there right in front of you, then it's definitely time to to put your awareness towards it and say, why does this keep coming up? Why does this situation keep coming up? Why does this person still come back into my life? Or why this person who's been in my life forever feels differently to me right now? And also, things that seemed really important before may no longer seem as important. And that has, our ideas of what we need in our lives and what we need moving forward has changed drastically over the last few months and year. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about that and trying to help with the peeling of the layers piece, because I like to come out with it intuitively as far as where we're at right now from an energy standpoint, and how this can then therefore help you right now. So, it's very easy to get lost in what's happening around us. We really need to realize that we are a part of that. We live in the 3D realm. We live in this world. It's very important. What is happening outside is important, so I don't want to take that away. But we can't use it as such a large distraction that we then don't concentrate at all on what's actually happening in our individual space. And the opposite is true. You can't be so concentrated on the internal, or even the bubble that you live in from a personal standpoint, and have no idea what's going on outside in the world. So, from a spiritual perspective, I think a lot of people want to escape. And when we start understanding multidimensional, start understanding what it's like to live outside of just a 3D perspective, you want more of it. So, as we want more of that, there's a lot of people who try to then escape to it and stay there. The issue is we're always 1 foot in and 1 foot out as far as, as long as our reality is still based in the 3D. A lot of us have purpose to work with the light and the higher dimensions and the higher frequencies so that we can try to help the collective lift to a higher frequency altogether. But in doing so, we cannot disregard the fact that reality is still here, that the 3D is still happening, and that many people on this earth plane are still in that frequency. So this is where I feel there's been a struggle even with each one of us individually. So you can get sucked into the 3D so deeply that you start tumbling within that, and you start ignoring the awareness to other things that are happening. And on the other side of the spectrum, you could try to escape from the 3D, pay it no attention, and try to live in this upper realm of freedom or peace and assume that's living in a multidimensionality, but it's not. So really what it is being able to understand both cohesively and to create a balance between the two. You cannot affect collective consciousness if you don't play in it at all. And you cannot, you can't really affect higher consciousness and higher frequencies if you're not playing in those at all. So there's a way of looking at it from a bigger perspective so that you can understand what's going on in both places. The tricky thing is there isn't two places. We're everywhere at once. So it's that balance. It's really that balance. It's that balance of understanding that there's just different frequencies and that certain things are coming from each one of those frequencies. So how do we play into that then? So it depends on what you really feel your purpose is too. So many people who watch this are on the way show or light worker path, and if you are, then please realize that in doing so, you can't really, if that's your work, then you wouldn't be projecting opinions or judgments out to people. If your work is to wake people up on a 3D realm in politics or in education or in sports, whatever it is to talk through those things, then you are working within those frequencies. It doesn't mean you can't think multidimensionally or act multidimensionally in your life. But if that's your purpose and that's what you're out, putting yourself out there as, then it's needed, but it's also, you're still playing more in that 3D consciousness. And perhaps you're using the 3D consciousness to get people to think differently, but that wouldn't make you, per se, a spiritual guide or way shower or light worker. If you're putting yourself out there on that level and you're trying to show people that, then honestly, you're talking to them from that place, and it's still their choice. It's their choice to see what you're saying. It's their choice to see the perspective that you're giving and to see how that resonates with them. Because each and every one of us will see it, will live it, will act it differently. But as soon as you're being brought into that 3D energy, then you're no longer talking about the multidimensional. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit because there's been a lot of duality, a lot of separation, a lot of you have to be this way or that way, or else. And a lot of relationships ending, etc., because of beliefs. And that's where the peeling the layers and the connecting back to your core come in. If you really truly want to connect back to your divine, you need to realize when we're acting because of beliefs, because of expectations, because of judgments that we have, and judgments do come from beliefs. It all comes really from beliefs. And we're born as this world without all these beliefs. We learn them. We learn them from experience. We learn them from our parental guidance and how we were raised. We learn them from education. We learn them from society. We learn them from other humans. Now, the thing is, all of us are on the same playing field. No one knows everything. However, as soon as we're able to connect back to the divine, we know so much more than we ever give ourselves credit for. From a human perspective on the true 3D, we're always looking to other people for answers. We're, excuse me, we're looking to other people to show us. We're looking to see, like, this person tried that, but it didn't work, so therefore, either I change this and try it a different way, or it's not going to work, or it's just not the way to go. Or perhaps you have a judgment about the person who did it and say, it actually does work, they just didn't do it right. So all of these things are judgments, though, and beliefs based on the 3D realm, based on duality, based on the physicalness of everything. So if somebody does something, then I can learn from it. If somebody says it's impossible and so many people have tried it, that means it's impossible. These are all beliefs, and they can go down, and they go down so deep. And there's so much that many of us are like, oh, but I don't hold any of this stuff. You know, there's these little beliefs that it's like, no, that's not my belief. But subconsciously it is. And it takes many people whole lifetimes or many lifetimes to be able to figure out that they are holding on to certain conditioning and beliefs that consciously you're totally not aware of. So whenever an emotion comes up, good or bad, negative or positive, however you want to see it, an emotion comes up. Whenever somebody says something, does something, or you see something, you watch television, you see something, and it hits a trigger, it creates a trigger response in you, pay close attention, because a lot of us just brush it off, or a lot of us do the whole, oh, I just don't like them, or oh, I don't agree with them, I'm not watching this because I don't like it, I don't resonate with it. So now, when there's a trigger response, there's something there underneath. There's something from a trauma perspective, from a belief perspective, from something you experienced before that's creating this response in you. And it's a universe's way of showing you that that's something inside of you that needs to be looked at. And it could be a trigger response that's a positive one. It could be every time you see, a person act a certain way, you start hysterical laughing and nobody else does. But there's something about it that's just so funny to you. That's still a response that you can look down deeper and say, why? What is that? What is it within me that makes me feel so good about that? What is it within me that makes me feel so terrible or turned off by that? And we start to peel some layers, because if you go deeper, oftentimes it's nothing that you even had any idea of. Now, there's a lot of people who have been through some major traumas in life, and that, of course, is something that we need to work through step by step. And some people who, certain things, when they trigger them, they know where it's coming from. But then do you deny the fact that you can actually change that? Because so many people accept it as what it is. So if I get triggered because when somebody cuts me off on the highway, I say that it's okay because they did something wrong, but I'm also obviously putting out some kind of energy that's having people cut me off. There's some reason why the cutting off keeps on happening to me, and keeps on triggering me and getting me upset or excited, or whatever word you want to use about it. But the other person, my sister drives down the road, she never gets cut off. What is the difference? Is it the way we, and you could go into the 3D realm and say, oh, it's the way you drive and you're too aggressive or this or that. But it's an energy that you're putting out. And there's a reason why the universe is sending it back to you to trigger you again and again. And if that's happening, then maybe I need to dig deeper. I get angry when people cut me off because it's a disrespect to me. It's almost causing an accident, and then you have to go deeper. You have to go deeper and say, okay, like it's making me react right away. It's putting me in a bad situation. It's endangering me. It's making me feel very unsafe. And then I have to go deeper and say, well, why is that making me feel unsafe? And it could have to do with something that has nothing to do with driving. It could just have to do with the fact that I am not safe with myself moving forward. I don't feel good about it because it's not in line with where I truly need to go. And then all of a sudden, all these energies come to me, and I'm walking in the city, and these people keep on cutting me off, and I'm getting annoyed and stopped. And until I really look at why the universe keeps on giving me these situations, putting me into these situations, and when I say the universe is giving me, it's really you giving yourself. But it's so subconscious, the energy that we put out and what we draw back to ourselves, that we can sit there and blame the world, and we could blame the universe, but again, that would be a victim mentality. So here's where we're not victims. So we're trying to figure out why this is happening, and therefore where I can grow from this, what I can learn from it, what type of opportunity I have from this. Because if I can change this energy I'm putting out, if I can transform it into something else, then I can stop the people from cutting me off all the time. And I could stop that feeling from happening. And I could stop that emotion and trigger from occurring. And that's how then we'll move on to be closer in alignment to who we are divinely, instead of continuously going through this human perspective, this human 3D part of it, where it's like, oh, this always happens to me. This always happens to me. It's like, oh, that's okay. But that's just pushing it away. That's just denying. So right now, in the energy that we've been in this year, a lot of us have been dealing with a lot of that. A lot of things have come up that never really, maybe we were never even aware of before, but for some of us, we were aware of it, but we kept on pushing it away. And now that we're put into this energy this year, and the situations we've been put into, where socially we're not so active with all this energy and all these people, you have more time to have these things hit you in your face in a way where it's like, okay, I can't deny it anymore. I have to deal with this. It was something that I kept on pushing away because I was too busy, and I was doing this, and I was involved in life, or I would get pulled into different directions. But now it's like, enough is enough. So now I need to look at it. I need to decide and choose where I'm going to move with it. And I need to make that choice to look at it for what it really is, and then do that work. Figure out why that's there. And once I figure out the why, how can I now transform that why within me, within my core, within my beliefs, so that I can shed some of this conditioning that really isn't my soul. That is just part of me because I'm a human. That's just been taught to me in this human realm. And it's not true reality, because true reality is all dimensions. So if I'm going to just create my life based on what I know in the third dimension, I'm going to block myself from seeing the opportunity in all the other dimensions. I hope that this was helpful in putting a little bit of a perspective on, awareness to beliefs, awareness to things that keep on coming up, awareness to what is right in front of you that is an opportunity and a possibility for growth. I will see you soon, and I love you as always.